Hello, both sides of the conversation family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Happy Thursday, community. We're here again with another Educational Thursday. I will be your host for tonight, Ayana Matthews. Now, tonight's show is going to be so amazing. We have the wonderful Dr. Webb with us this evening, and she'll be talking to us about wealth mindset. So it's going to be an amazing show. Now, I know you all are wondering, where's John? Where's Tony? Where are they at? Well, they're not here tonight. John's, I'm pretty sure he's out there saving the community, doing his bishoping, doing all the good work that he does. And I know Tony is out there doing the same. So before we introduce Dr. Elnora Webb, let's get into some world news. So Adidas is planning to rebrand Yeezys after ending Kanye West partnership. Adidas reportedly plans to continue selling Yeezys with new branding. Adidas chief financial officer made it clear that Adidas not only owns the designs, but the sneakers will continue to be produced just without Kanye's involvement. So let's see how Adidas does without having Kanye a part of it. Next, as you all know, we voted this past Tuesday, and slavery was actually on some of the ballots. Voters in Alabama, Oregon, Tennessee, and Vermont passed ballot measures that will change their constitutions to prohibit slavery and involuntary servitude as punishment for a crime. All right. The next world event is Amazon reportedly facing pressure to remove anti-Semitic film promoted by Kyrie Irving as sales skyrocket after NBA stars support. So Amazon is reportedly under pressure to either remove or add a disclaimer to the film Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America, which NBA star Kyrie Irving had seemingly thrown his support behind the film after sharing a tweet about it on social media. The film has since become a bestseller, dethroning all other documentaries on Amazon Video while skyrocketing in popularity. And I have to admit, community, I did go buy it and I watched it. All right, so now for community events, we have the 4th annual Confident Catwalk. And with this event, our amazing Tony will be the host of that wonderful event. So please, community, go out and see and support our wonderful Tony as she will be the host of this event. Our next event is the community listening session, which will be held Tuesday, November 15th, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Samoan Community Development Center, and that'll be in Sunnydale in San Francisco. And please see the link below for more information. Next, we have the job fair. That'll be Wednesday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in San Francisco as well. So you all get dressed in your best outfits, come with your resume, and be prepared to get a job. You know, there's this wonderful job fair happening. So go out there looking your best and to get that job. Next, we have the community listening session Wednesday, November 16th, 5:30 to 7 p.m. at Booker T. Washington Community Center in San Francisco. Next, we have the East Oakland Small Business Alliance. Join the Alliance Wednesday, November 16th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The next event that we have is the 100% College Prep 2023 HBCU College Tour. For information, please go to the link below. Next, we have Calling All Gamers. The Xbox 6 PlayStation game tournament will be held Friday, November 18th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., and that'll be at San Francisco at City Hall. Next, we have Mackey's Corner's first annual Suicide Awareness and Prevention Community event. That'll be Saturday, November 26th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Hamilton Park. I know this organization is looking for donations, so please email the email address below to make your donations and also show support. Next, we have the Asian and Black Community Cookout. That'll be held Sunday, November 27th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it'll be at the Crossing, 200 Folsom Street in San Francisco. Our next event is Feel Good, a coalition of writers by authors ages 8 to 18. And that'll be Wednesday, December 7th from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Come out and support our young adults, or I'm sorry, our children. Excuse me. Next, we have high school test prep class open to all 7th and 8th graders. You will be prepared to take the placement test for HSPT exam. Classes they started in October, so please email for more information. Next, we have the monkeypox. Vaccines are available every Thursday, 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. in San Francisco. Next, we have our Peace Park. Peace Park presents Friday Night Fun Night every Friday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Hamilton Rec Center in San Francisco. Next, we have our Saturday Family Fun Day, field trips, sporting events, and much more. So that'll be every second and fourth Saturday. For more information, please email the email address below. Next, we have the Smart Money Coaching. It's free, confidential financial guidance for anyone living, working, or receiving services in San Francisco. So please call the number below to schedule your appointment. Next, both sides of the conversation, we have our own building fund. So please visit our website and make a donation today. We would really enjoy the support. All right. So next, I want to tell you all about donating to both sides of the conversation. Donating and then also if you want to volunteer, we are looking for volunteers to be a part of our organization. And if you feel like you don't have time to volunteer, please donate. If you go to amazonsmile.com, 0.5% of your eligible purchases will go to our organization. So please donate and help us out by supporting us at at smile.amazon.com. All right. So now for our upcoming shows, we have an awesome show coming up this Sunday, which will be with our youth, and they'll be talking about gun violence. So please tune in Sunday, November 13th at 4 p.m. And then next Tuesday, we'll be back with another Hidden Gem show, and that'll be at 7 p.m. on November 15th. All right. So that is all of your announcements. And so now we're going to bring up our amazing guest for this evening, Dr. Elnora Webb. So, Dr. Elnora Webb.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I appreciate what you all do in support of the community. And I look forward to sharing in a way that's helpful today. I'm just going to have a discussion with you. And I want you to think, I want you to be open. I want you to suspend disbelief. I want you to be in your own comfortable setting. If you're driving, if you can stop uh, and pull over or get to your destination pretty quickly, that may be best. Because I really want you not to have to be encumbered by a lot of activity, noise, and I definitely want you to be safe. So if you have to continue driving, if you have to continue to walk, and you've got your earphones on, or you got the Bluetooth if you're in your car, you should be safe. Uh, and I really want you to think about whether you are driven by faith, and ideally you are. And the faith, you decide what that looks like, what that feels like, what practices are part of your faith. That is your choice. That's the power of us as humans, thanks to the Great Spirit, the God source that allows us to be able to exercise choice is one of our major gifts. We're fortunate. We can choose. We're choosing all day long. And ideally, you're driven first and foremost by faith. Why do I say that? Because there's so much in this space, in our lives, on this planet, that encourages us to be driven by fear, meaning that we do things because we're afraid of something else might happen if we don't do what we're doing. If we're driven or compelled or constantly reacting based upon fear, then we're not really leveraging the controls that we actually have as humans. Now, why am I talking about this when we're talking about a wealth mindset? Well, it begins and it ends with one being in control of what I call our mind. And our mind is not just a conscious mind where we're thinking and we're deciding, we're writing it down and said, I'm going to do this today. And let me tell you something, most of us don't realize it. Yet we have proven over and over and over again through scientific research that it really doesn't matter what people write down. If their subconscious mind is driven and well programmed to dictate and direct someone to go in a different direction, they can have a wonderful list. They're likely not will not complete that list. So when I talk about the mind, I'm talking about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the thinking mind. It is the objective mind. It says I take in facts and I look for truths, and the truths may or may not square with my truth, but I look for things and I'm using my mental capacities. What are your mental tools? You've got, what is it? 6 of them: will, reason, imagination, perception, intuition, and memory. Now, most people don't think intuition is a mental faculty or tool, and yet it is. Wired to believe that it is a feeling. It's part of the subconscious mind. Now, why am I bringing this up? All of us, Black folks, Latinos, Native Americans, Asians, Pacific Islanders, white folks, all of us independent of where we were born and reared on this planet, are programmed in some way. We're socialized in some way. We call it oftentimes culture, our values, our belief systems, why we behave the way we behave, what we do, why we choose what we choose, because we've been programmed. Now, programs sometimes feel uncomfortable. It's the reality. When we're kids, what are we doing? We have sensory tools. What are they? Our ability to taste. Not all of us can taste, but most of us can. Not all of us can smell, but most of us can. Likewise, not all of us can hear, but most of us were born with the ability to hear, see, touch. Those are our sensory tools. And so until we're able to be conscious, we're taking in the world. Think about the babies. You can remember yourself being a baby. A few of us can as we're older. Think about your children, your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, or other people's children. They're constantly looking around. And if they've not been so harmed, they're open. They're taking in the smells. They're tasting things. They're touching things until we, through protection, guide them as to what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to touch fire and keep your hand there long unless you're an extraordinary child. You're likely going to burn and it's going to be painful. So we protect that child and let that individual, that child know that's not what you want to do. That's part of programming. That's part of socializing. That's part of ensuring the child grows understanding some basic things about this life. Yet there's some things that we program our children into understanding, even if they don't understand fully, or at least taking it on, even if they don't believe it, where they walk around in as 20-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, in their 60s like me, or in their 70s or 80s, and never amass the kind of financial independence or freedom that allows them to do what they really are here to do, that they have the built-in genius to do. They don't have, and they can't afford it because they were programmed, socialized to believe that because no one in their family has had the wherewithal to do whatever they want to do, and money is not everything. It's not the end, but it is a means to facilitate getting to the end. So if that particular child sees him or herself taking off in space, building one of those major means of transportation, or adding to the technology that already exists, and yet they are not complimented in that regards. In fact, someone hears their dreams and says, "Oh, no, nobody in our family has ever done that." Not likely. Who do you think you are? You're from all these things that imprint on that child. Maybe that's not appropriate. And then the dream gets deferred, and then the dream actually ends up in graveyard where that spirit's body is, because it was not allowed to, and it didn't choose to take off and leverage that dream. Why am I mentioning this? The power of each one of us to choose. And yes, there's some children who, when they're listening to the adults around them, they're like me saying, "Oh, these adults haven't even take the time to get to know me." So they're not the smartest bub in the room or on the planet. And I'm going to listen to them because some of the things that they're going to share may be helpful to me, but I'm not going to let them undermine my ability to move forward. I'm not going to allow them to get rid of the light that I am, that I have the capacity to be for the rest of humanity. I'm here for a reason. Quite frankly, every one of us is here for a reason. We come here with all kinds of capacity that far exceeds even what scientists know now. Did you know your DNA? Yeah. People know DNA. They go and send, swabs of their saliva, et cetera, to different entities in order to get the DNA results. Did you know that you can change your DNA? Well, some of you are so brilliant, you already knew that. And that you don't have to be brilliant to know that. You may be tracking that research. So there's a lot of things about us as humans that's not permanent. We get to enhance it. We get to change it. So when I spoke last month, thanks to this platform with you, or some who had the opportunity to hear this and see me, I shared a little bit about my early beginnings. Born to a 13-year-old who had been abused, as documented at least as early as the age of 5, I grew into that same environment, being abused, and then in foster care, and then homeless for a short spell, and then ultimately went to college because I didn't want to be homeless again. And in the process of going to college, I had no clue. I was not the brightest bulb in the room, or so I thought. In fact, I didn't think I could survive college. I not only survived college, I experienced so much at the University of California at Riverside that it shook me at my core and made me understand I didn't have to just survive, which was my programming. But part of my programming was also I was told I was not going to live to the age of 20 for a number of rational reasons. Well, here it is, I'm 64. The point is, I'm a living example that just because someone said something, and because they said it with intention, and because they were authorities, because they had degrees behind their names, does not mean that that information applies to you. You get to choose. You get to choose. I cannot emphasize enough. You get to choose. I cannot emphasize enough. You get to choose. So, why did I start off with asking you if you have faith? Faith is more powerful than most of us, I think, give it credit. Yeah, I've got faith. I belong to this a religious sect. I'm part of this group. I go to this on a Saturday or on a Sunday or on a Wednesday night. I'm talking about something much more profound than that. I'm talking about literally, you know your values. You practice your faith when no one even knows you're awake. You in your dream state, your faith is literally ensuring your next moment in time is exactly what you imagine. I'm talking about the power of you going deep within you to illuminate that vision that you otherwise perhaps wouldn't even think about because you're doing like a lot of us enjoy doing. You're listening to music, you're going out, with friends and family, and you're just dancing, or not just, you are brilliantly dancing. You're laughing, you're watching sports, you're going to the museum, you're going to the movies, you're doing all kinds of fabulous things. And then because you're also working, and some of us are working 70, 80-hour weeks or more, by the time you go to bed, all you could do is just sleep. And then you wake up and then the cycle goes over again. And you're so busy trying to get to that wonderful space of happiness that you are not spending any time internally going to a brilliant space that could lead to the level of happiness that knocks everything out the park. Well, at Signature Solutions Corporate Results, my team and I, and then the broader team of us who are part of a leadership development firm out of Silicon Valley based in San Jose, but there's nearly 10,000 of us across the country. We're about the business of ensuring that all families are on the path to financial independence and literally experiencing it in one generation, not having to wait for 3, 4, 5 generations or more, but in one generation. And what we do is we illuminate the power of faith first, family second, finance third, after family, fitness definitely critical, and fun. All 5 F's are essential. So without faith, what happens? There are different texts. In fact, I'll share one at the end of this session, perhaps, if you are interested, that talk about the power of the devil. Yeah, I said it. And there are texts that talked about the power of the Great Spirit, of God, of Tao, of the universal being, of the source from which we come, are part of, and return, both being exceptionally powerful. Faith leads us and allows us to leverage all that the Great Spirit has for us, that we were born with. We were born wealthy, and it's up to us to allow it to materialize. And our mindset affects our ability to allow it to materialize. That's the real point. So if we're living in fear, which too many of us are, because of the nature of evil, because of the nature of confusion, because of our inability to do, what do we call it? We call it be in sync with hypnotic rhythm. What do I mean by that? There are many laws of the universe, and one fundamental one is the law of compensation. Well, I think the vast majority of us know, and I'm certain that most of you viewing this, if not all of you, know that what we throw out, we get back, and we typically get that in abundance. So if we throw out love that's unconditional, oh my goodness, we're going to be surrounded by it. So just be prepared and receive. Please. Too many of us, especially women, come on, sisters. Too many of us don't receive. We're like, oh, no, I don't need it. I don't need it. You do need it. The life itself is giving to us. You're giving, you're givers. Many of us are just wired to give until we don't have much anymore. And we're depleting our resources. The universe wants to give to you in abundance. Receive, open. I'm also talking about myself because for years I just didn't know how to receive because I was not socialized to receive. I was socialized to give and have things taken away from me. Finally got a clue. Took a while. Into my mid 50s. Oh my goodness, that's ridiculous. Please don't follow my lead. 17, 25, 30, 45, open. And faith allows us to do that. Yes, I had faith before. I didn't understand how profound faith could be. I was nowhere in the same paradigm that I am now. I shifted many times. And I'm encouraging those of you who are driven by fear to let it go. I can't emphasize enough. The more you embrace fear because that's all you know, the more it is who you are. And who are we as humans? You've heard probably the statement, humans are basically habits. That's exactly right. We get to change our habits one or two at a time. Don't try to do multiple. One or two at a time at max. You change a habit, you replace it with the new habit, you use the mental faculties that we'll talk about a little bit further and during this live podcast, and before you know it, you've gotten rid of a habit that didn't serve you and you've installed a new habit. That's what brothers and sisters do on the field, on courts, on tracks. They're constantly learning what their body has the capacity to do that enables them to win races, to win games, to tower over, even if they're 5 feet tall, over 7 feet tall, somebody, because they installed new habits and they systematically worked those new habits and they didn't waver. A LeBron James is not a LeBron James because he woke up one day and said, hey, I'm going to play basketball and I'm just going to be hired by different teams, including the Lakers, and I'm going to be great. And he doesn't get up in the morning and work out. I'll talk locally here in San Francisco. Who are the brothers? Who are the sisters? Who many of them go nameless. Yes, we know about the remarkable Steph Curry and his brother. And we know about others on the team. The Warriors. Oh, I love the Warriors. Not crazy that they left Oakland, but they're still in the Bay Area. I knew that was the agenda years ago. Golden State Warriors. Go figure. I'm diverting. Freudian slips. That the power of engagement, the power of using a habit that you've been coached to use that allows you to grow in a way that you are otherwise, you're not even in that space. You've never worked the arms. So bringing it up too far hurts. And you work it. Before you know, the arm goes up, it goes up, it goes up, it goes up. And I'll never forget, I had a crook in my neck and I thought it would never leave. So I had some acupuncture work. I had some massage work. And then I consistently did stretching exercises every morning and in the evening. And before I know it, I couldn't turn my head beyond that because I was stressed and, oh my God, it was crazy. And of course, now I can turn it as though I never had any issue. I mean, just doing this was, oh my God, excruciating. The power of exercising your mind, choosing what you want, choosing a growth mindset, choosing that you want to literally build something that maybe you've never experienced before, your family's never experienced before, or has at least not experienced in the last few generations. You can change your family's last name forever. You have the capacity to build generational wealth. You have the capacity through faith be so focused that you give in a way, you learn, you give to yourself, you give to others, where you're constantly receiving from the universe because you're making a difference to yourself and to others. And before you know it, you've reached the destination. And yes, there are hurdles to get beyond in the process. Yes, the muscles are going to hurt. Yes, you're going to have to exercise them. Yes, you may do something extreme like getting into ice cold water and feel like you've lost your mind. Yes, you may get into a major, from hot to cold, and you may do things that you can't even imagine you have the capacity. And before you know it, you're that finely tuned, mentally acute genius that you always were, but you just didn't develop into that until now. So I mentioned faith because faith, without faith, you can forget it. And I don't want you to forget it. I want you to understand that you have the capacity to pay it forward through your own growth and development. It's also for your loved ones. You choose who they are. Definitely mom, dad, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, friends, families that you've chosen. You weren't born into, but you chose. Communities, organizations. You get to build in remarkable ways your own business with your colleagues, someone else's business that you're contributing to. And I say, as you contribute to someone else's business, recognize that you can make the difference in your own business. And your business is critical. Your business begins and ends with your mental mindset. So let me talk a little bit more. I said hypnotic rhythm. It is another way of saying law of compensation. There are universal laws. It doesn't matter. It has no respect of person. The Great Spirit doesn't have respect for person. Unconditional love gives us the capacity to choose, and it doesn't matter what we choose, what we think about, we draw to us. You're like, oh, wait, if I think about something negative, yes, you're going to draw it to you. Think about something positive, yes, you're going to draw that to you. And the more you're consistent with whatever it is, you're going to get that in abundance. If you want something, focus on that. Yes, there's going to be all kinds of tests. You can call it the devil, you can call it other evil forces that are part of it, you can call it life itself. Will test you to determine if, in fact, you want it. And if you really want it, you won't waver. You'll remain steadfast. Yet there's all kinds of incentives. Someone says, hey, you've decided this weekend you're going to study, you're going to sit down, you're going to take care of business, whatever it is related to your agenda. And then 15 people who you care about, you love hanging out with, all call you, and then you just waver. Okay, I'll do this tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, I'll do it the next day because something else happened. And before you know, it's a month later, it's a year later. I know this resonates with some of you because a lot of us do it. And I did it historically until I didn't. And when you choose to shift that, oh my goodness, the so called evil nature of reality has no control over you. Because fear is when we open up ourselves to all kinds of distressors that takes whatever we experience and amplifies it. We have a negative experience in the past, it's not in the future. We're in the future right now. Every moment that we have goes right into the future. But so many of us are bringing the past with us. And let me tell you, The past can be painful. Been there, understand in ways that I don't like sharing with anybody. I only share to hit on the power or bring home the power of our capacity to get beyond whatever that nonsense or that hurt or that pain or that devastating experience was. We get to move forward. I love one of my mentors. They used one of this hourglass to bring it home. All this stuff is past. We can't bring it back up here. In fact, if we can, why don't we want to? We get to leverage all of this to learn so that as we're experiencing every moment that we get to experience into the future, because where the future is now, it's now. The next moment's now. The next moment's now. This is it. And as it enters this space here, we lose it. It's gone. So we get to live really now. Why bring that stuff with us? That baggage. The more baggage we bring, oh my God, it's painful. And we end up letting that fear, which is what it becomes, cause disease, cause distress, cause excessive pain. And yet it's gone. And the people who hurt us, they may be gone too. And they may have forgotten. Unfortunately, they may be hurting other people too. The power is in shifting and saying, oh, no, 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 no. However, whatever I need to do to let it go and release, that's what I do. And I move into the future. And I'm speaking from experiences with some devastating circumstances. And I got to choose. That's the power that we have. We got to choose. We get to choose to be in every moment that we get to experience and leave this stuff behind. Leave it behind. Let it go. Leverage the learning. And in fact, maybe that's the whole point, is to learn in order to build our deeper and more profound foundation. I remember when I was a child, I think I was about 7 or 8. I was like, okay, I got to get out of this stuff. You know, this is taking too long to get out of this painful stuff or being beaten and all, whatever. And here I am, all these years later, being called a senior citizen and all that stuff. I'm like, how did this time go by so fast? And the wonderful thing is that at some points throughout my life, I understood I was responsible for exercising choice. I was responsible. And then the more I honored that, the more I moved into 100% faith. And yes, I'm like the rest of us. I get thrown off my axis sometimes. I get right back on. I remember being on a horse. And horses, I've been told by people who used to rear them, they are not the smartest animals. And yet I never experienced that. Every horse I ever experienced, brilliant, and knew exactly what I said or people were saying about it. Got on a horse that was supposed to be docile, didn't do anything, and anyone like me could get on it and it would just take me around a particular location. And the horse looked at the person talking about it as it was inconsequential. And then the horse looked at me as I got on it like, docile. And as soon as they took off, whatever, they had to hold the horse back, the horse took off. And I'll never forget, I felt like, oh my God, I never had well, up until that point, I had so much pain. I had to walk with my legs so wide apart because, oh my God, my back, my lower back, my legs were in pain. And that horse brought me back to the correct location, let me get off, never threw me off, but bounced and over the place. Uh, and I looked at the horse. I said, I got it. I understand. I didn't say that though. I didn't say you were weak and docile, but that horse let me know it had a clue. And in the same way, I always had a clue. As a little kid, hearing all the messaging about me and the terrible things said about my birth mother, because most people didn't know she was harmed. They just thought she was a 13-year-old decided to be, as they call it, a slut. And even if she had done that, to engage in such discussion hateful, negative discussion around a child is reprehensible, as too many of us have experienced and all of us ideally understand. So hopefully, we're embracing our children, honoring them, reminding them that they get to grow into whoever they choose to be that's healthy, with faith, honoring family, building the financial assets so that they're free. Black folks, Latinos, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, all of us, groups I didn't mention, foreign borns, definitely native born, we get to build what we would otherwise or have otherwise been told we got to wait for somebody else to build. There's too many brilliant folks around this planet who are arrested in their development. So, again, I'm going to go back to faith versus fear. There's a word that was used that I found quite remarkable, and I'm hoping that I can find it very quickly. In this particular book that I will recommend that you read, it doesn't come up, but it's about the power of controlling your mind. Otherwise, you're captive to anything that's out there. It'll come to me. Oh, it's the notion, the habit of drifting. Guard against drifting. When you're able to pinpoint what you want, and many of you are doing that, and I'm so proud of you. Pinpoint in a way where you develop a clear vision, you write it down. You come up with a plan, you don't have to know all the details. In fact, you let the universe draw things, people, and options and resources to you. Have you ever thought about somebody and the phone rings and it's that person? It's the universe perfectly responding. That is the law. It's part of hypnotic rhythm. You think, you behave after you feel. You think, you feel, you behave, you have results. You think, you feel, you behave, you have results. And initially, when you were a child, I'm going to go back there in a moment again, you were just feeling, you were tasting, you were seeing, you were smelling. You weren't thinking. And then at some point, you became conscious. Some children at 1, at 2, at 3, at 6, you became consciously aware and began to use those mental tools. So, what I want you to do is understand the power that you have as a young adult, as a so called middle aged person, whatever that means, as an elder, to literally go to faith, not get caught up in distraction, and then do what I mentioned earlier, be caught up in such a way where the hypnotic rhythm of the universe itself takes us to spaces that we really don't find valuable and leads us to stay in the same economic state that we have been programmed to be in. So, last time I was here, I think I mentioned Family A and Family B. Family A is what we call Middle America. 95% of the people in Middle America are earning, on average, I know it's different for the Bay Area, but $100,000 or less a year in the household. Household also, most have a job or had a job pre-COVID. If they have any kind of retirement plan, it's a 401k plan, something that was contributed to by the employer or offered by the employer, and there's no special contribution. They have, the individuals themselves have to contribute. They have what we call the old kind of life insurance, where it only is for a term, 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, 30 years. They rent a home. They don't own their home. Even if they have a mortgage, they still don't own it yet. They're putting money in the bank. They have credit card debt. They have minimal tax advantages, even if any, meaning that they're paying, whether it's 12%, it's 20%, it's 22%, it's 30 something percent. They're paying taxes and they don't have tax advantages. And most don't even know that they could have tax free options. Typically, do not have an advisor. And again, they represent the majority of the population. 5% of the population are earning well in excess of $250,000. This is across the country. Of course, in the Bay Area, it's much higher than that. They're business owners. They don't have 401ks. They have employees that they offer 401ks to, but they have index accounts. Going to come back to that again. They have permanent life insurance, not what we call term, meaning that term only pays out 2%. Did you know that? For those of you who may have a term policy, it's good to have a policy. A term pays out 2%. That's why we encourage people to, if they qualify, to have permanent life insurance. That could actually be much less than the term that they have. It all depends. Family B, 5%, the wealthy population in the US, they are homeowners. They have a diversified portfolio and they have a financial expert on whom they can rely. And that financial expert, whether it's an advisor, whatever the title is, literally typically only works with people who have brought in 250, maybe 500,000 or more of savings that they can help them capitalize on. So we're talking about two different groups, family B, family A. And family A is no better than family B. Family B is no better than family A. They're all, let's just say, theoretically, they're all wonderful people. Great children, great visions for themselves. The difference between the two, the biggest difference between that 5% of the wealthy population and 95% of the rest of the population, 5% has financial education. The 95% does not. The 5%, even if they weren't born into money, they have learned some basic rules of money and they've shifted their mindset. So a lot of them didn't come from money. And in fact, we're told, oh, don't worry about it. Money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think you're trying to do? We've never done that. We've always been fill in the blank, which unfortunately, 95% of the population have heard a lot of those messages. And what we're here to share is that those messages go. We're not saying take on all the messaging of the 5% because some of it may not be appropriate, honorable, integrity driven, may have gotten them financially where they're at. You can be honorable, integrity driven, and get to financial independence as a household, as an individual, with your family, and you can do it in one generation. You just need to know how. And so I know that's what the team here does, is remind you that you get to do that. You do not have to live in a way where it's either you're like what we know, po, know what that is, or poor, meaning economically disadvantaged, or just slightly, just 2 or 3, maybe 6 months shy of being homeless. And that's why you're so grateful to have the job that you have. Everyone listening to this should have at least 12 months of savings to be able to replace your income. Whether it's your own business, you're driving your income, or you're working for someone else, especially when you're working for someone else. The key thing about this is that there's tools. And I want to remind you of one of the tools. And the two signature products that we remind people of or inform them of for the first time have to do with IRS codes, and they emphasize index accounts. So there's one in particular. I want you to check it out. Check with your CPA about it. Unfortunately, many CPAs are not required for their licensing to know some of these codes. It doesn't affect what they do, and what they do ideally is honorable and effective and helps you. There are particular IRS codes that guard you from having to overpay taxes. 7702A was created when the IRS was created. Probably some wealthy folks wrote that in because it ensured they didn't have to pay taxes. Well, that same code, 7702, you have access to. I do. We all do. And quite frankly, I was very disturbed when I learned about it. And I was 61, almost 62 at the time, literally a month shy of 62, I believe. I'm now 64. And that was incredible to know that I could have been placing my hard earned money into an account and watch my money grow, pay taxes up front when I know what the tax level is going to be, and not later when taxes will grow up, what will increase at a particular level or beyond a particular level. But pay it now when I know what the tax rates are, not when it's higher. Pay it now and then put my money in an instrument where it grows tax advantage and I can access it tax free. Wow. I have a colleague. She retired. She knew about this years ago. I asked her if she told anyone. She says, no, I got mine. It's like, oh my God. And that's part of the reason why a lot of us don't know this. Because folks, you know this. Some folks, it's all about me. It's all about mine. I got mine. You figure it out, you get yours. And I'm here to say it's all about us. The degree to which you're financially free, I am in a better situation. I don't have to ever meet you. I know that my life success, my well-being is intertwined with your well-being. And I know, I hope a lot of Black folks look at this show and others too. And I want you to know, I need each one of us, not just one, I need each one of us to fulfill the dream that we were brought here to experience, which far exceeds what we've done as a collective. And let me tell you, we're among the most strongest folks on this planet. We've gone through crap. Even long before the slavery here, the slavery before coming here, we were building, we were growing, we doing phenomenal things. And then we continue to do phenomenal things even now. We press through nonsense, including the nonsense around how some of the media treats us in order to break us down, in order to provide examples that we're still in line and we're still in a type of legitimate slavery. None of us are slaves unless we choose to be. And when we operate out of fear, we go back to that slave space. When we operate out of faith, oh my God, the strength, the power that's imbued in each one of us just knocks everything out the park. So why am I bringing up this mindset? Why am I talking about, are you driven by faith? Are you allowing yourself to be manipulated, harmed, or distracted so that you could be overtaken by fear? I say, fear, do your own stuff. This is not the space for you. You're not welcomed here. I understand you're trying to do your thing, but you're not welcome here. Only faith in all that that means to get my team, the collective, including myself, moving forward is what it's all about. Faith, folks, I can't emphasize that enough. Growth mindset. So the index account that we highlight, and I'm going to come back to some 7 spiritual priorities that enable you to shore up your growth and wealth mindset. This index account that we expose people to, actually one of the two, allows for you to do what 80% of us do. So 80% of us put our money where? I know some of you are thinking banks. Exactly. Banks, credit unions. Why? Because it's safe. Some of us are still putting money under our sofas, in between mattresses. I get it. I was surprised. One of my um, clients said her mother had a lot of money and she didn't know how much it was, and she was protecting it because she didn't trust the bank, so she put it on in between the mattresses. She took it out. It was over $100,000. Freaked everybody out. There's a safer place to put it. The $100,000 with inflation. Inflation this year has been 9%, as we've been told. Truth be told, it's probably 2 or 3 times that. You know everything has skyrocketed. But let's just say it's 9%. If that mother had placed that 100,000 plus into a bank, might have gotten a return of 1%. In a CD, maybe 1.5 or 2%. If inflation's 9% and that's all she's getting, she's losing the purchasing power on her dollar, right? By anywhere from what? 8% to 7.5%? That's a lot. Putting it under or between the mattresses is worse. There's an index account, as her daughter learned and got excited about, that allows her to put her money in, and literally, she's already paid the taxes on that money. So it's not what we call non-qualified. Don't get caught up in the terms, just she's paid taxes on it. So she just puts the money into the account systematically and watch it grow. The average growth of an index account that I'm referring to has been 10.22% over 40 years. Actually, it's 10.4 something percent now. Can you imagine in a year experiencing a 61.33% return? And that's what some of our clients did with one of two of our carriers. And then those who chose to pay a special fee of 1% or 1.75% earned 158% return last year. Had she had that 100,000 in there? Can you imagine? We don't want you to just imagine. We want you to be mindful, informed, sufficiently learned, and understand how you can build accounts that will enable you to build the financial assets that allows you to dream big in ways where the dream is manifested. So it doesn't matter whether you've read the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao, all these different, whether religious or philosophical texts. I mean, there's many, 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 many created by many folks throughout history, known and unknown history. And they all speak to the importance of the means of exchange. We call it money now. They all speak to the power of it and that it's our birthright. It's not about the end. It's a means to ensure that the reason why we're here. I think the reason why I'm here is to ensure the financial independence of folks. Before, it was to ensure that people understood their capacity to design their life. Thus, my 40 years almost in higher education. The power of us to leverage what we know, to leverage the knowing of other people who function with the kind of integrity that you value is critical. Is critical. So I know that they're going to share my email, my website, my LinkedIn at some point. Feel free to contact me. Feel free to contact me right away. And literally, as you think about it, don't wait for a week, don't wait a month, do it right away. That's the power of a wealth mindset. You're acting now. You're not allowing yourself to be distracted. You're focusing now. So I want you to be thinking about safety. Yes, 80% of us put our money in a bank or a credit union. I want you to think about high rate of return. So where do most people, or 15% of people, put their money who want a high rate of return? Put it in the stock market. Okay? And then where do 5% of the people put their money when they want literally tax-free? Those astute people like Warren Buffett, like LeBron James, like particular others who understand the power of index, like Kobe Bryant. One of his policies left his wife and children over $30 million when he was tragically killed, along with his daughter and other people on that flight. He was thinking strategically about now and in the future. He didn't want for his children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, etc., to ever want for anything. So he built it. And likely Kobe Bryant's wife is doing the same. They, what they did, yes, Bosco, what they did, we can do. And many of us are doing now, building that same resource for all of us. And some of us are not even mindful of the power of it. I have a client who got a particular index account years ago, didn't know what it was, and could have had well in excess of 25 times what she has in it now. Would have been brilliant. I won't mention the actual number. Don't want to share too much confidential information. But the key thing is she didn't understand. Whoever gave it to her, they may have given her brilliant information that she didn't understand the power of it. And I met someone else. Like I said, that colleague who retired with millions of dollars, just putting in a small amount over a 20-year period. Just a small amount, just a small amount. And it compounded. You understand the power of compounding? The rule of 72 we mentioned last time. You take the interest you're earning on your money, you divide it into 72. That's how long it will take your money to double. So if you have 10,000 and you get a 1% rate of return, you divide that into 72. What is that? 72 years. It'll take 72 years for that money to double. So if someone's 29 and they have 10,000 and they put it in the bank or a credit union, they're only earning at best 1% return. Not only are they going to lose because of inflation and other kinds of real factors, economic factors, financial factors. However, if they live to see it double, they'll be 101. Take that same 10,000 for that 29-year-old, and you have a 10% return. 10 divided into 72 is what? 7.2 years. So that 10,000 will double in 7.2 years. By the time that person is, I think, 61, is it? Maybe it's 71. They'll have over 1.3 million, about $1.3 million. The power of compounding. And an index account where it's tax-free access to that money, oh, wow. 401k can't compare. IRAs can't compare. There are different reasons why people use those different instruments. So rather than to say, oh, I got to get rid of something, learn why. One may work better than another. It's all about your goals and what you want to achieve. So as I bring this to closer, I know that there's questions that will be asked of me. There's much more I want to share, and I had some visuals, but I was not crazy about the look of the visuals. I want to say something that's one of the African proverbs that a lot of them come to mind, and one of my teammates shares this a lot, and I love it. Well, I have another teammate who emphasizes Sankofa, which is go back and get. And then her sister emphasizes if you want to run fast, run alone. I used to be a sprinter, so I understand that. But if you want to run far, run together. And that's what we're about. We need you to be your brilliant self and take each one of your families out of the old paradigm, move them into the new. And here's some things to think about. Definiteness of purpose, knowing exactly what you want to achieve. Not all the noise, not what other people tell you should achieve. You know in your heart, when you listen, when you're in quiet mode, things come to you. Whatever it is, about helping the community, about doing something profound with your family, the extended family, about whatever it is, writing the book, whatever it is, running for office, whatever it is, becoming something that actually adds value where people need. And you may have heard, no, 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 no. Turn up. Yes, 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 yes. You're born for your greatness, not someone else's. You're born to be your distinct self, not somebody else. So definiteness of purpose, mastery of self. Some people say over self. I don't care if it's over in mastery of self, understanding fundamentally who you are so that as you have faith, there's no trickery that can undermine and take you off your axis. You have faith. I'm so proud of Kyrie. And one of the um, uh, interviews he was giving, where he was just, there was a pressure to get him to say something, and it wasn't relevant to him. So why would he say something that's not relevant? I was proud of him, independent of whether I agree or not. And I happen to agree with a lot of what he said. In fact, I don't even know if I disagree with anything. Just proud of the brother for just standing up and being the man that he is. A young man. Quite frankly, he acted in ways that I know some older men don't even have the backbone to act. He demonstrated what a man does. When you have conviction, when you have faith, and you know who you are you're coming to understand who you are, you don't waver unless you know you're wrong. And if you're wrong or you got new information, you reassess and you grow from that. Again, you solidify the backbone. Learning from adversity. Oh my gosh. I've always believed that the reason why I experience some of the ridiculous stuff I experience, the traumas, and the wonderful stuffs that were great, is because they were all preparing me to be greater. And I believe that for all of us, we're being prepared for greatness. So when someone, you know, does something stupid to you, against you, just have that internal smile. I'm being prepared for greatness. Cool. That's what I do. You do what works for you. Controlling environmental influence. Remember I said associations, people connecting with you. You've got a plan, you've put it in writing, and all of a sudden, all this energy, this noise, well, you get to be even in the noise and tune it down. I remember years ago, someone said to me, always seem so calm. He says, when do you meditate? Because they knew that I meditated. And I said, all day long. They're like, but you're facilitating meetings, you're talking, I said, yeah, but you can be in a meditative state all day long. You can pray whenever you want to. It's not a particular location or particular feeling you have to have. That's part of choosing time, giving permanency to positive rather than negative thought habits, and developing wisdom. We only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. And the degree to which we're quiet, we listen to understand not only others, but ourselves. Wow. Wisdom develops. Harmony, acting with definiteness of purpose to become the dominating influence in your own mental, spiritual, and physical environment. I'm imagining all of you at one time or another, maybe often, are told, I just want to hear what you have to say because you're profound. And maybe reflective of how much time you spend listening to you, honoring you, valuing you, loving you unconditionally. Powerful. Each one of us is. And then being cautious, thinking through your plan before you act. But then once you've acted, be less willing to shift and change because of distractions. Stay steadfast. Magnify your mindset, understanding that you have the ability to use memory, perception, will, imagination, reason, and intuition. You get to see this video more than once. Go over those words, learn those words. Next time, next month, when we bring back, when I share in a PowerPoint presentation or slide deck, visuals of actual illustrations where people are, or actually results, where people are achieving massive results just over the years, not trying to do it all overnight. Got to build the foundation like you're building a home that's not on quicksand, right? You got to build the foundation, build the structure. Those of you who are engineers who are part of the building community, you're awesome. You understand the power and the importance of foundation. When the same thing with the rest of life. Life is cyclical. There's a season for everything. There's a season to plant the seeds, and then there's a season to nurture that soil further and ensure it has the appropriate nutrients, water to grow. And then there's a season to extract the the fruits of that comes from those seeds, or the food that comes from those seeds, or whatever it happens to be, the flowers. There is a harvest when we do things right. In the same way, there's a financial freedom harvest when we invest the time now, build that mental mindset that's growth oriented, that wealth mindset that doesn't waver, that honors those seven things that I mentioned, and leverages your mental faculties. Oh my goodness. And yet, we get to our destinations faster, much faster, when we are part of a mastermind. Thus, that African proverb, if you want to run fast, run alone. Yet if you want to run far, run together. And complementary to that, you want to be successful in a sustainable way, leverage folks who've done it well, and functions with the kind of values that you yourself honor. Thank you. Yana, I went longer than I anticipated.
Oh, no, you are totally fine. I mean, you have really had a wonderful message for the
Mhm.
community. This is just what we've needed for so long, talking about the wealth mindset. I think we as a people right now, we get so caught up in social media and we forget how delicate our mind is. And when we're so consumed with so much negativity and so many fake idolizations, we get this weird way of thinking. So I thank you for bringing that into play when it comes to just building wealth, because we're so far behind and we have so much work to do now to catch up. So thank you. And
And
then
I,
just
I
bringing
want
in faith.
Can I
I'm sorry,
say
go
two
ahead.
things about that? I'm getting chills from what you said, Ayana. You literally gave me chills from my head, and it's just going down my shin and the back of my leg. And I get chills when someone takes me to a place that's fundamentally profound. So thank you for doing that. You talked about how we get caught up in social media, whatever. Let me tell you something. That stuff is contrived. It is intentional. It
Mhm,
is intentional for us to be busy and not thinking about what's in our best interests. There's been so much messaging by people in the know about how certain different industries are not only leveraging smart research in terms of the marketing expertise that universities have provided. They are do, uh, hiring folks in different venues in order to put out the kind of messaging that will cause us to live in fear,
mhm,
to be fearful. And so we don't aspire. We don't, because we're afraid. We don't whatever it is. And I fundamentally believe that the reason why my birth mother was harmed, I was harmed, and so many other women and men are harmed, is because someone is trying to break the spirit.
mhm,
Something is trying to break the spirit. And if we just ask ourselves, okay, so what if it is that evil energy, whatever it's called? It, depending upon where you're at on the planet, you call it different things. What if it is? And what if it it literally is edified by fear? It is reinforced by fear. It is nurtured by fear. Then aren't we big enough, bad enough, remarkable enough, proud enough to say, forget you. I'm about my faith, and nothing's going to cause me to waver.
Mhm.
We should be indignant about protecting our mindset, protecting who we are as a people, protecting who we are as a spiritual being from the great source itself. We should be protecting the fact that we are at our essence unconditional love from my humble perspective. And this nonsense that we are encouraged to go and be part of, that's all contrived.
Mhm.
We just stop responding to it, it'll all just melt away. And what appears to be real will fade away and will be out of what I would call, as a sister who came up with the concept of the Matrix years before the movie came out, the Matrix will just, it's a big film, it's a big a delusion or illusion, and it
Mhm.
will literally disappear. There's a
Right.
reason why Black folks, young Black men, and some young Black women, but primarily men, are encouraged through certain songs, etc., to talk in certain a way that disparages themselves, others, and they go home and they don't live that life. There's a reason why they're getting paid a lot of money to do that, because it's all about embedding fear, ugliness, and all kinds of things in a culture, in a society, to keep it fear driven, to harm people.
Mhm.
And if we understood that's all, that it's just evil doing that, all of a sudden we will demand better music. Still hip hop, still rap, still whatever it is, rock, still R&B. We will demand brilliance that's already there, but it's not being supported.
Right.
We'll demand that. No, we succumb to nonsense, and we don't even know what we're singing. I remember listening to one of my family members, and I said, "Well, what are you saying?" I don't know. It just I like the beat. Okay, but what are the words? And I didn't even know what the words were. They listened to the words that they were saying. They were like, "Oh my God, I'm not doing that anymore." weren't even aware. It had
Right.
taken over them. Too many of us are sleepwalking.
Yes.
We
Mhm.
are sleepwalking through life. We're too powerful to be sleepwalking. We're
Mhm.
too diabetes, have strokes.
Right.
We're not even 50
Blood
years
pressure.
old. We're too powerful
And
to
that's so true. We're so powerful, and it's really about taking our power back and, going back again to that faith. And we have to get grounded back into that faith, because once we have faith, nothing else can penetrate that, because it's so powerful and so strong. And so I wanted you to tell us again about the 5 ways to be financial independent. I know you said it was faith, family, and what were the other
faith,
ones?
family, finance, fitness, and fun. These 5 F's work together, not separately, not just you go and you make a lot of money. No, there are a lot of folks who are very wealthy, multimillionaires, billionaires, who are the most unhealthy, unhappy people on the planet.
Right.
So just because you have a lot of money does not mean that things are going to turn out well. They actually may just do just the reverse or inverse. The key thing is you've got to have faith, whatever that is. And there are diverse faiths. And there are people who are highly religious. There are people who are, they consider, I'm just highly spiritual. Well, at the essence of all of us is what spirit? We're from spirit. We go back to spirit. We are spirit.
Mhm.
These bodies, hopefully, we treat these temples well. We're eating the right thing. We're feeding it the right kind of messages. We're saying the right thing. We're feeling the right way. And the way that we try to protect that new child as that child is growing in our bodies. Oh, women, we are so powerful. I don't even think most of us know how powerful we are. We get to let life come through us. In the same way that we nurture and cultivate that new being, well, all of us are doing that all the time as humans. Did I don't know if most people know this, but the cells in our bodies, by the time you're my age, you've gotten rid of all those cells you were born with multiple times. So the body is constantly rejuvenating itself. And if we feed it the right thing, if we feed it the right thing in terms of food, I'm not talking about going out and getting expensive food you can't afford. I know people are in food deserts. I'm saying demand better food than that's there. I
Mhm.
lived in a community in Oakland, in East Oakland, for a short time. Loved the community. Went to the local grocery stores, and let me tell you, before I walked to those buildings, the meat was so horrible. It had a stench. And yet, Black folks, Latina folks, few Native folks walking around, and poor white folks walking around into those stores buying the meat. The meat was literally dangerous to even consume. And they had it in droves. They were buying it. And but if that's all we know, we don't know. And the chemicals being placed into cows, etc., and other kinds of animals to blow them up faster so that they can sell them. And those chemicals we're taking in, and no wonder we're end up with all these different diseases that just 50 years ago was not normal.
Mhm.
So when I say eat the right things, I'm not just talking about eat a combination of meat, vegetables, what I'm not. I don't know what works best for your body. I didn't know I needed to have meat, beef and lamb to be particular, because for almost 30 years I ate no meat at all. I didn't miss it. I had no fish, no meat. I was just going to be a vegetarian, not a vegan, but a vegetarian for the rest of my life. And then I almost killed myself because I require some meat. And some people can't have meat at all. So you've got to figure out what works for your body, give it the nutrients it needs. And sometimes you're weak and you've got pain because you are malnutrition. Sometimes you can't, you get dizzy because you haven't drank enough water.
Mhm.
We're over 80% water. So there are some basic things to do. But even if you're eating right and you've got the sufficient clean water, not fluoridated water. Oh my God, that stuff is killing us. But clean water, fresh water, and that's a whole nother conversation. You've got to make certain that the thoughts you have, it's just like my family member was listening to this music, and it was all horrible. The words, when he slowed down to tell me the words, I was like, I'm trying to have a neutral stance, like I don't want to be too opinionated, although I am. And he's like, "Oh my God, I had no idea." Wasn't even aware of the messaging was putting in his mind.
Uh-huh.
Don't do that to us. Come on, folks. We're too brilliant. We're too special. We've outlasted all kinds of crap. We are born to be brilliant and to manifest the greatness of the God that is within, that's without, from which we come, we're part of, and we return. So, yes, we've got to have that. The faith. The faith is demonstrated through how we treat our bodies. We understand our faith when we spend time in our bodies, in reflection, whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's dancing, whatever. People do different things, burning sage, whatever, smoking a little bit of ganja and getting, whatever you need to do it. And then family. Oh my gosh. If your family is unhealthy, I understand that. Been there. I was lucky to be in a couple of families for a very short time, though, who were healthier than the families I had been in. But the bottom line is you create your family. I am so fortunate. I have so many remarkable nieces and nephews and godchildren and brothers and sisters. We just created our family. Yes, some are blood, some are not. My foster brother, sister, but who cares? It's irrelevant. They're my family. I edify them, hopefully, all the time. If I need them and the way that I'm available to them, hopefully they're available. But the bottom line is we're not in this alone, folks. And even if you don't have a particular family, those of you who are looking, please leverage this form as a way to connect because no one of us lives on this planet successfully alone. I don't care how brilliant we are. And then finance, we need the money in order to be able to navigate our lives. Money is not the end, and we should never love money. Money should work harder for us than we worked to get it. And if your money is not working as hard as you work to get it, you are not doing the right things with your money. It's as simple as that. And then again, health, our physical well-being, it's the temple. It allows us to navigate life, to think clearly, to be present, to stand proudly, not in a stupid way, in an honorable way, and then to have fun.
And having fun is so important. It looks like we have John Henry that has joined us.
Hello, Mr. John Henry.
Hello, Dr. Webb. How y'all doing? I don't know if y'all can hear me. I'm at City Hall, okay? Leaving City Hall, at the Human Rights Commission meeting tonight, advocating for the people. At both sides of the conversation. We got to make sure the people voices is heard, and
Awesome.
that's what we're doing. And you
Proud
two
of you.
powerful queens holding down the platform, and you just dropping gems. I was sitting in the meeting listening to you dropping those gems about good evening, Commissioner. Good evening. Dropping them gems about index funded
Oh,
Oh, we lost
I
you.
think we lost them. Yes, but if you can just tell us again about the index funds and how would someone go about acquiring one? Would they go through maybe Charles Schwab or just how would they do that?
Well, let me say there are a lot of financial firms, and most financial firms uh, do not provide index accounts, or I should say many of them. I shouldn't say most, but many of them do not.
Okay.
And so one could go directly to a carrier that offers an index universal life. And I would recommend that what they do is either speak to me or someone else who has the expertise to do this. Because not all IULs, for example, Index Universal Life, insurance policies, or other kinds of index accounts are understood, are known, or even part of the practices of all financial professionals. So I don't call myself a financial advisor. I don't call myself a lot of things that would be associated with people who work for whether it is a Charles Schwab or any other organization. I call myself a financial educator first and foremost, a financial strategist, a retirement specialist. I'm in the business of helping people plan strategically for their entire lives and ensuring that they're able to build a legacy that they themselves leverage while they're alive and leave a legacy that lasts beyond just one, two, three, or even seven generations. That's what I do. So my team and I, we do that. We do it with fun and joy. And that's why I say you can begin with a conversation. And it's always about understanding what is it that you want to achieve, because one size doesn't fit all. And let me say, there are a lot of folks who have these index accounts because they rush out and just find somebody or they go to a company. I just want one of those things. Well, what do you want? Well, I just want one of those things because I want to have a tax free. Okay, we'll give you one of those things and they'll charge you, but not walk you through to find out first of all, do you have a financial needs analysis report? You do you go to see your doctor annually? When was the last time you had a financial needs analysis or financial checkup? Well, I've never done that. Oh, well, that's the first thing we do because that lets us know what you need long term based upon your priorities. You don't know that, you'll go and get anything, right? It's kind of like telling someone, I want to get to I want to go somewhere. Okay, you jump in a Uber and you're on your way, and they say, "Well, where are we going?" I don't know. I just want to just go there. Just drive me around. And so they may just literally drive you around the block 3 or 4 times, and then you get off at the same place you were to begin with. Well, that's what happens when people just rush to get something. And that's not what we want. In the same way that one builds oneself up to be the expert, we want one to build him or her or themselves up if they're part of a partnership in a business or in a family. We want them to be in a place where they understand. So no one can take advantage of them. So when they hear a word, they not only hear it, they understand it. They know how it's applied. When someone said an illustration, they can say, I got one, and here's what it meant, and here's what it means, and here it's showing me what I would achieve. And this is under promising so that they can over deliver. So these kinds of things we would walk through with the client. And the good news is, unlike the firm that you mentioned, many others, and I won't mention others, we don't charge folks. And that's the powerful thing about us. We get to just sit down with folks, spend the time, go over the details, and then they decide what they want to do based upon their own details given back to them in a formal report. A report that typically costs $1,500 to $3,000 per report, but we don't charge. We use our proprietary software to analyze their financials, give them the report with recommendations, illustrations, and then they decide, well, there are 3 companies that may support me, and here are the illustrations of what they look like. What does this mean? You've told me this. Now I understand. I'm ready. I want to take advantage of this. No, I've got to wait. Or I don't have the means to do it. And so then we help them understand how they could develop the means to do it. So that is what we're about. The indexing accounts, we let them know based upon where you're at, you may want to do a rollover, or you may want to do a strategic roll out, or you may want to create something you've never had before that doesn't fall into the category of a roll over or roll out. It's just a building of a plan for you to begin with. Make sense?
Yes, this is powerful. Like, this is just what we need to start breaking generational curses. And the fact that you offer this service for free is just, it's amazing, because this is what we need. And there's no excuse now of why we're not advancing to the next level when it comes to financial awareness and really building legacy. So can you really quick tell us about what is different between permanent life insurance? I know you talked about term, but then what is permanent life insurance? Is that whole life? What does that actually mean?
Permanent life insurance. Okay, I want you to think about a continuum. And in fact, next time I could bring the sheet with me. Um, Life insurance has developed over time. So term has been around for hundreds of years, literally hundreds of years. And term is basically a type of policy that has its value, that allows for someone to have coverage to protect their family in case they die within 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, 30 years, depending upon the amount of time that's embedded in that policy, right?
Right.
So reason why I said it only pays out 2%, because the vast majority of people outlive that term. So they paid into a policy and it was for 25 years. Well, now it's 26 years. They decided they don't want another term because they didn't benefit from it. Well, they're glad they didn't because they're still alive. But now it's more expensive to get that same term policy. So
Right.
before it might have been X amount. I won't throw out a number because it varies depending upon the person. And now it's increased significantly. And they just say, I'm going to live a long time and I'll figure it out later. Well, guess what happens? Then they die. And then the family says, oh, I think so and so had a policy. So let's say, but now, no, the policy no longer exists. It expired. That's why a lot of folks don't like the idea of term. Now, term again has its place, but there's a newer type of term, and it's called living benefits. And so when people say, I really need coverage and I want something now, and they can't really afford an index account that has the tax advantages that we've talked about, then I say, well, you may want, because you've got whatever it is, you've got a family or you have children, at least you've got property, or you're husband and wife, or husband, wife, whatever the arrangement is. You've got, you want to protect your loved ones, you want to protect your things, you want to put it in a space where you don't have to worry. You reduce one worry. You're not fearful that you may die and then there's not anything for your loved ones. Well, that's called term with living benefits. You still have term, but then the powerful thing of it What if something happens to you and you live? You get to draw that money out of that, depending upon whether you have a chronic, critical, or worse off, God forbid, terminal illness. You get to leverage those funds while you're alive to take care of yourself. If you recover after a year, that's awesome. And you had a term that was $1 million and you got to pull out most of it because you were otherwise eligible for it. You got it. You recovered. You still have it. Your family didn't have to worry about losing the home because the persons in the home had to take care of the person who was now critically ill or chronic illness. You didn't have to worry about that because you had these other resources. That's one. So there's a term, the old term, whole life came afterwards. Whole life was a big deal. It was a major transformation, permanent life insurance, right? And it had a cash value accumulation, powerful. But then what came after that? Experimentation continued. Universal life. Oh, more options. And then whole life ended up being the most expensive compared to term and now universal life. Well, then there was variable life. Variable allowed people to keep their money in the stock market and play and whatever. And then something more remarkable came. It's the latest and greatest, and it's called index universal life. It can be the cheapest, literally, when structured correctly. And so I guard people against running out and just going to anybody to get it. You want someone who's been licensed, trained in how to develop this. Not everybody is trained in this, and not everybody is licensed to be able to do this. So that's part of the reason why I can't say that everybody who's a financial person has this expertise or can do it. They may be interested. And if they are, send them to me. It'll be my honor to help with that training for them at no cost to them and to guide them. I love it because we need more of us out there. In fact, I'm expanding my team for those of you who may be interested. It's a powerful field, a lucrative field. The most lucrative aspect beyond the finance is really helping individuals, transforming our community. So, Index Universal Life is the latest and greatest and can be the least expensive of all of them. Literally, in time, someone has it long enough, they're paying less than 1% in insurance cost, and they're getting all this return, depending upon who it is, how they've structured it, and how the growth occurs in that particular policy. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. This is some powerful information. Community, please reach out to Dr. Webb and get all of this valuable information just to make our lives much more better and really to create a legacy for our families. We have John back. John, do you have anything you want to say to Dr. Webb?
I just want to say thank you again for coming on the platform, enlighten our community with elegance and grace,
Mm.
and just making sure that we just trying to do things that involve our community and economical power and building this ecosystem of financial literacy is just very important. And I apologize, community. I'm on the road, but I'm advocating for the people and I'm out running the streets. But I had to check in. And thank you, Ayana, for holding it down and for our team. These sessions are very important, and we just honor you and thank you for coming here today as we continue to lead with the mission of making sure our community gets financial health and readiness, and as well as health and mental health is what we committed to the community at the start of the year. So it's just great to
Yeah.
have you here. There's a lot of disparities and a lot of issues, and just having you here is the beginning of addressing those and making folks and community feel that there's somebody who look like them, that's representing that grace and that elegance and that information that we need to be better off. So thank you again. Generational wealth is what we try to push to further generations, and we just appreciate you.
My honor. And I want to say if you go to the website, and I'm going to share it with the two of you by email, a poster. This month is long-term care insurance awareness month across the country. And a sister in Southern California, she's brilliant, Melinda Blue Taylor. She's a a registered nurse and then became a nurse practitioner. And she's been in this business for years. She was the first Black woman CEO of World Financial Group that is located literally around the world. And she is facilitating a conversation about long-term care. And it's next Tuesday, November the 15th, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central. And again, you can go to my website and register. Just go to events and you can register now and we can get the information to you.
That is amazing. So community, please join next Tuesday. Join Dr. Webb. So Dr. Webb, any closing remarks that you have for the community before we close out?
I honor each one of you. And your success literally is a precondition to my overall well-being. And so this is very personal to me. You're being your healthiest, remarkable selves. And thank you for what you do that makes a difference already, what you feel that adds so much value, and who you are, who you are naturally, your authentic you. I honor you. Let's go and knock it out the park. Let's ensure the next generation is much better than all of us. And millennials, you're brilliant. You don't have a lot of patience for stuff that we supposedly had patience for. But the truth be told, we didn't have a lot of patience either. We just grew patience. So let's continue. You continue to push us so that we get in a better place. Honor.
Thank you. And just like our wonderful pretty Tony always says, keep ascending, So like you said, you have to be committed to yourself, find your purpose. And community, please reach out to Dr. Webb because all this wonderful education is what we need to push ourselves forward and push our families forward in the next generations to come. So community, thank you all for tuning in on this wonderful Educational Thursday. And we'll see you all again next Sunday at 4 p.m. with our youth show where they'll be talking about domestic violence. Thank you so much again, Dr. Webb. Thank you, community, for having me. And good night to all. Thank you.